Galashiels in the Scottish borders has a number of ghostly tales to tell, but all was not as it seemed. In 1841, the people of the town were rocked by the story of a ghost in their midst. In Channel Street, there was a one-storey house in which lived two families, while in the garret or attic above was a weaving shop. One of the families, thought to be Irish, were rather rough and ready, much to the disappointment of their neighbours, who made some rather crude remarks about them to others in the town. Sometime over that winter, news spread that the house was haunted. Strange noises were heard in the empty weaving shop, and light furniture was moved in one of the tenements, said to jump from one place to another. Plates and dishes spun round, whirling about without anyone being near them, and the old weaver and his wife were terrified out of their wits as items were thrown at them, narrowly missing their heads. The noises in the empty weaving shop were often heard out on the street, and over the course of a number of nights, crowds gathered at the front door to marvel and wonder at the events unfolding before them. The Channel Street ghost was the talk of the town, and everyone tried to work out the cause of the strange goings-on. If one person had a theory, another had a different one, and another had another one yet, all of which were plausible to an extent, but they couldn't find the answers for all the mysterious phenomena happening. 3 gentlemen, who were all sceptical about the strange goings-on, decided to go and sit all night in the weaving room in the dark, confident they would unravel the mystery. However, as they watched and waited, nothing happened that night. In the morning, as dawn broke, they left, feeling rather foolish, having sat there in complete silence all night, not a whisper said between them. Of course, the following night was a different story. The noises began once more. At the end of their tether, the family resolved to pack up and leave, and move to a less creepy house, which they did. It was only after they'd left that the ghostly goings-on stopped. An examination of the premises soon revealed there was a hole in one of the planks of wood that made up the trusses in the attic, made by a knot having fallen out of the unseasoned fir, and a string had been passed through it and fastened to the treadles above. This meant the ghost, or rather mischief-maker, could set to work whenever they wanted. The movement of the furniture was put down to a mischievous young woman who'd managed by sleight of hand to do so when people's backs were turned, or when she diverted their attention on purpose. Much of what happened could be accounted for, but with the old man and woman being so nervous, and their imaginations running wild, it certainly captured the attention of the townsfolk. After the forced evacuation of the old couple, things returned to normality, and the story of the Galashiels ghost simply became part of the town's folklore. In October 1861, as an old man made his way along the Gallowwater road near Cathertoll, he was astonished to see a white phantom cautiously approaching him. It took hold of the old man's arm, and when he saw the visage so wan and looks such as were never fastened on man, he nearly fainted. The ghostly apparition had the good sense to leave him and went into the nearby plantation at the side of the road. The old man was terrified, and when he reached Crosslea, he told of what he'd seen, so 4 young men went away in search of the ghost. They hadn't gone far when they spotted him in his white garb, but when he saw them, he took to his heels and ran. They pelted him with stones, but he managed to evade them by running into the hills, and was never unmasked. Another story associated with a town ghost is one that occurred on the then newly built Magdala Terrace, which lies just south of the old Ladhope Cemetery and is on the main route into the town from the north. In the summer of 1876, two young men were making their way home in the wee small hours, when to their absolute horror they spotted a ghost sitting in a garden of one of the new houses. It was dressed in white, and the sight gave rise to the men shaking in their shoes. Never before had they seen an apparition, but this one was as clear as day. Terrified, they armed themselves with a pickaxe, making their way as close to the ghost as they dared, and threatened that they would strike it if it didn't leave. The ghost ignored them, staying put, and the two realised their pick was too close to the unearthly being, so they discarded it in favour of a long pole. They then boldly eased their way closer, threatening to do for it with the pole. At this point the ghost gave in and removed the white sheet. All the mischief maker was trying to do was to see just how courageous the two friends were. Fooled, the two men were said to feel rather small afterwards, but the event also showed that if you're playing a ghost, it could very well end up with you seeing stars. However, it seems this wasn't the only ghost at Magdala Terrace. In early September 1876, a reward notice was posted in the Southern Reporter stating, "A reward of 5 shillings to any person who will apprehend the ghost and deliver it up to the police." Whether this happened or not is unknown. Gala was haunted by another ghost in 1891. For some time, a ghost had been frequenting Gala Park. The ghost would peer in windows at night, but only those where a light was burning during the hours of darkness. It wore dark clothing, a veil, and moved around in noiseless shoes. Steps were taken to try and catch the culprit red-handed, and he gained the nickname Springhill Jack. He would perform ghostly antics, frightening householders, so his description, such as it was circulated. On the evening of Tuesday 18th August in Market Square, there was a large crowd listening to the town band playing, when a peculiarly dressed young woman arrived to watch. Someone whispered, "That's Springhill Jack," and the poor woman was set upon by the crowd. She had to be taken to the local police office for safety, but she insisted that she wasn't the prankster. It's unknown whether the culprit in this case was ever caught. If you enjoyed this episode of Scotland's History, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching.